I believe I would have killed myself a long time ago if I didn't have chronic suicidal ideation, because I've already determined that I can do it. So I can stand a great deal of pain because I know I can make it come to an end anytime I choose. So that's kind of my pill.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions and many millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it or listen about it or hear about it, and that is a problem. I think it's a growing problem. And so one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors and those maybe on that path. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you would like to talk, please reach out. I'd like to talk with you. I'd love to talk with you. hello@suicidenoted.com. It's that simple. I'm going to keep this short today. We've been doing this 5 years as of a couple of days ago. So every single human being involved, thank you. From the absolute fucking bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I possibly can. Today I am talking with Frank. Turns out Frank is a professional speaker. This is what he does for his work. He talks often about suicide. So the nature, the style, the texture of some of our conversation, it's a little bit different at times, but hey, everybody's different. Frank lives in Oregon, and he is a near suicide attempt survivor. Frank, how are you?
Been a busy morning.
Yeah. Bodybuilding?
No, today's my day off. Today's my day not working out.
Well, thanks for making some time for me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
You've done some crazy cool stuff, and I don't say that. I say that to a lot of people, but I'm not just kissing your ass. You're not fucking around here.
I made my day.
I appreciate the work you do, man. I really do.
Oh, thank you.
You sound good. You look good.
Thank
got
you.
A big TEDx behind you. Clearly on brand. Love
Subtle, isn't it?
Very subtle. Yeah. But for what it's worth, I've done one TEDx talk, and
Attaboy.
No, at a high school, which is fine. Decent talk, did okay. The video, I found out, didn't work. My one TEDx talk, they screwed up the video. I was like, great. So I've got great photos of me on there and some audio I captured. But anyhow, all right, not about me.
That's right. It ain't about you, man.
Stop making it about me. Jesus. Frank.
It was your podcast.
All right, I've been recording. I do some editing. I thank you for being here very much.
Yeah.
We talk about suicide on this podcast. So let me just jump right in and ask you a broad question, and then we can dive in a little deeper with your permission. What is your experience personally with suicide?
Well, it runs in my family. It's called generational depression and suicide. My grandmother died by suicide. My mother found her. My great aunt died by suicide. My mother and I found her. I was 4 years old. I screamed for days. If you have listeners who are easily triggered, they need to mute for about 90 seconds. My great aunt, my mother couldn't reach her, given that she couldn't reach my grandmother and then found her died by suicide. When she couldn't reach my great aunt 9 years later, she got panicked given the family history. So she bundled me in the car at 4 years old. We went over to her house. We let ourselves in, nothing out of place, until we got to the kitchen. And everything that should have been in the refrigerator, an old Loctite, not a magnetic strip, but an old Loctite refrigerator from the 50s. Everything was on the counter: butter, milk, eggs, cheese. My mother did not realize that my great aunt had crawled inside the refrigerator to end her life, pulled the door to behind her, and apparently, it turns out, at some point, decided to try and claw her way out. My mother, me hanging onto her skirt tail, walks over, swings the refrigerator door open. My great aunt falls out and pins me to the floor. We're face to face, her face frozen in that last moment of horror. And my mom tells me I screamed for days. And if you're already hardwired for suicide, as I am, and you're that close to an actual suicide, and I would suggest nobody could get any closer, then the odds of you seriously considering taking your life years later go up. And that's what happened in April 2010. Following the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, my wife was devastated. I had $1 million life insurance policy. I'm thinking I could fix this. So I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like, because I went to the barn to practice, see if I could pull the hammer back. And then, having sold life insurance straight out of college, I knew that every policy had at least a 2-year suicide clause. So I called my insurance agent. How long have I had the policy? He said 22 months and don't do it. Because he'd had conversations like that and delivered checks. So I had to wait 60 days to kill myself. So I'm a suicide survivor. People that am related
lost survivor,
and came within a 3-pound trigger pull of ending my life. And had my life insurance been, in force more than 24 months, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
You'd be out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me ask you a few questions around what you shared, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
What you shared. Those that are easily triggered probably don't tune into this much. I don't sensationalize, but we get real. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
How old were you when you found? When was I apologize. Was your grandmother?
Grandmother was found by my mom.
How old were you?
I was not born yet. 9 years later, I was 4.
Yes.
And that's when we discovered my great aunt.
So, how old are you now?
5.
No. That was last year. Last year. Frank's a comedian. I mean, and I mean that literally, but we'll put a link in. You can find out for yourselves.
Yeah.
So,
68.
68. You look good.
Well, I'm a bodybuilder. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. So 4 years old, you find her, or you're that close. You're as close as you can come, as you say. I believe. Is it 2010? So you're in your mid 50s.
It's 2010, so 14 years ago. So I was 54. Yeah,
right.
Mid 50s. Yep.
So 50 years go by between that incident and you almost taking your life. As it relates to this, and obviously it's not just suicide, it's just life and mental health stuff. And like, what is your life like in those 50 years? And how often in that time, because I know that's a very, very big question, but how often in that time are you thinking about it, if at all? Sort of ideating, we can use that word.
Oh, I didn't ideate, think about it again, until I was in my mid-20s. I've got a TEDx called Suicide, the Secret of My Success, Dead Man Talking. And it starts like this. What would you do if you knew for a fact you had nothing to lose? What audacious goal would you attempt if you knew by not attempting it, you would in fact die? That's where I was in January of 1984. I'm married, wonderful woman, but I'm miserable. We didn't belong together. Working in insurance, great business, but I'm miserable. I'm not pursuing stand-up comedy, not going to open mic night because that was not my first wife's idea about what I should be doing, and miserable. Driving down 163, it's a highway in San Diego, headed downtown, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, raining. I had that first thought. Well, why don't you just kill yourself? Oh! My second thought was very empowering. Sean, I said to myself, well, wait a minute. I could divorce my wife, quit my job, try comedy. If it works, great. If it doesn't, hell, I can still kill myself. That's how I got into comedy. I had absolutely nothing to lose because if I stayed put, I'm dead.
Question.
Yeah.
This is one of these things you're, quote, not supposed to typically ask, but I do, and you don't have to answer.
We have no secret, Sean.
Why did you want to end your life? Is that an answerable question?
I was miserable. All
right, but let me push back a little bit. Respectfully. Yeah. A lot of people that are miserable, maybe they think about it. They don't come that close. So do you think it's a sort of a genetic thing, the experience of seeing suicide around you, something else that we'll never know?
No, I think some of it was nature. In other words, having the woman fall out on me at 4. Some of it, that'd be nature versus nurture.
That'd be the nurture kind of.
Yeah, nature being hardwired for it. And also, as I tell people in my keynote, suicide most oftentimes, the person does not want to kill themselves. They just want to end the pain. I'd known that I was going to be a stand-up comic since I was 9 years old in 4th grade and told my first joke.
Wow.
So I knew. And here's how much I knew. April of that year, 84. Matter of fact, 40 years come this 1st of April. I'm on stage, 5 minutes, I'm doing my first open mic. Halfway through my open mic, a voice in my head said, "You're home." So I knew and then I decided at that point I was going to do it professionally. It took me another 18 months of open mics to get to where I could go on the road. I just wanted out of the pain. And again, I thought, well, wait, I can try stand-up comedy. If it works, I can still end the pain.
Now, how many people, man, good for you. It's so weird the way my brain works. When I said good for you, it was less about, and apologies for this, less about not killing yourself, more about, God damn, you did stand-up comedy and you stuck it out.
Well, and I've met several entrepreneurs, other entertainers and such. There were 2 studies I read that said 33% roughly of all entrepreneurs are depressed and suicidal. And the clinicians believe it's lack of sleep, working too many hours, and unmet expectations. I believe that's probably true. But I believe there's a small and significant subset who are like me, because a friend of mine, Jan, another comic, we're having a chat. I helped her get into corporate comedy out of clubs. But before that, she was just doing open mic night. And she said, Frank, I was doing open mic night. I had a great job in Washington, D.C. with an association, good benefits, good salary, miserable. My only joy was those couple of open mic nights I did every week. And she said, and then I had the thought, and I said, let me finish this for you. Then I had the thought, if I don't do stand-up comedy and ditch this association gig, I'm going to kill myself sooner rather than later. She goes, how do you know that? I said, because I lived it. I believe the same is true of Anthony Bourdain, just my guess, and the woman, the
Kate Spade.
yeah, and they both died the same year. I believe they may have both been. Anthony was at Vassar. I don't know what he was studying, but he loved culinary since he was 8 years old. I think he may have had that conversation. Vassar, good school, got a good major, probably get a good job, but this is not where I belong. And Kate was the head of the accessories division at some big magazine, women's magazine. I'm thinking, she's thinking, hey, look, this is a good job, but I'm not supposed to be judging other people's fashions. I'm supposed to have my own line. I can't swear to that, but yeah, I do think it happens more often than people realize.
Yeah, it's a tough one also because we don't have a lot of, and you probably have a lot more conversations than the average person, even in the world of mental health, but we don't really talk about this stuff that often. So these things, and as much as they're knowable, in my experience, we don't get to know so much because the stigma and the fear and all the other things that happen. So mid-20s to mid-50s, and I'm referencing mid-50s because that was when you were within 2 months of that whole thing. What's life like?
Well, once I began doing stand-up comedy, I ditched my first wife and started doing stand-up comedy. And after I ditched my first wife and moved in with a friend of mine who had moved to California from North Carolina, I was sleeping on his couch. A couple of weeks later, another comic approached me, and he goes, man, how do you get 50% funnier in 2 weeks? I said, you divorce your first wife.
Here we go.
Yeah, so I was happy. I mean, I still was moody at times, but no thoughts of suicide. Not a single thought of suicide until the bankruptcy. Now, that's not entirely true. In 1995, 96,
You're in your 30s, late 30s-ish?
yeah, I have major depressive disorder, which it's cyclical. Every so often for 3 days, down the first, flatten out the second, back up the third. And I was having one of those times, and because major depressive disorder is generally not situational, some of the best times in my life. At that moment, condo paid off, money in the bank, gigs on the calendar, horribly depressed. So I walked the dog on the best off-leash dog park in the world between the Hotel Del Coronado and the Navy base, beach. Beautiful day, great day. We get back to the Coronado Bridge. I'm wretchedly depressed. We drive up the bridge, and I'm counting my blessings. I get to the top, I'm done counting, I still want to jump. So I started taking something called SAM-E. It's an over-the-counter supplement. It's good for 3 things: your liver, your joints, and mild depression. And so I rode SAM-E until I turned 60 and actually got a psychotropic. So SAM-E took the edge off for me all those years. I didn't want to jump after I started taking the SAM.
Sam, I've never even heard of that. Is it an over-the-counter thing?
Yeah, SAM-E. The chemical name is this long.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can buy it at Costco. If you go to Costco, look for SAM-E.
All right. Shout out to the producers or manufacturers of SAM-E. It helps. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, no side effects because it's good for your liver, good for your joints, and good on mild depression. Just enough to take the edge off for me.
Sometimes that's enough, right? Just enough. Take that damn edge off. And so you get through that until 2010.
Yes, when we lost, the world financial markets collapsed. I was in charge of our finances. I mean, I can't take credit for the entire world financial markets. Moody's and Goldman Sachs and some others had a hand in it.
Yeah.
But I was responsible for the money, and my wife was devastated. And one of the 3 legs of the 3-legged stool of suicidality is burdensomeness. You think the world would be better off without you. And I knew for a fact that I was worth more dead than alive to my wife. She'd be better off financially. So I was going to kill myself so she got the $1 million.
That's the main motivating factor.
Yeah.
Frank, it's interesting what people talk about. This is just, I've had about 260 conversations.
Yeah.
So you learn some stuff, though my audience is somewhat self-selected. It's not a perfect sample of every survivor, of course. When I ask about myths or misconceptions around any of this, the thing that comes up probably more than any other thing is the idea of selfishness. And what you're saying, it comes up all the time.
I was headed there, as a matter of fact, before you said it.
Well, what I was going to say, what I heard, and then the floor is yours, is
Yeah.
when someone chooses to end their life for another person, you can argue it's not at all selfish.
And I talk about that in my keynote. From the outside looking in, didn't he think about the people he was leaving behind? As a matter of fact, they probably did. And that's the reason they're gone.
Exactly.
One of the reasons. Because they figured they'd be better off. And I knew my wife would be better off. She'd be brokenhearted, but she wouldn't be broke.
You still married?
Oh, yes. Oh, listen. Remember I said that from the time my first open mic, it was about 18 months and I went on the road?
Mhm.
That December 85, I said to my girlfriend, now my wife of 37 years, I'm going on the road to be a comic full time. Do you want to come along for the ride? Figuring she'd go, hell no. She goes, yeah. So we gave up our apartment, our jobs, jumped into a teeny little Dodge Colt. And we were on the road for 2,629 nights in a row, 7 years and change, comedy club to comedy club to comedy club. Yeah.
Serious, Frank.
Yeah. So when one of my comic friends says to me, you still married to Wendy? Dude, who divorces a woman like that?
Holy shit. So you went around the country. I don't know how you didn't kill each other, but that must be a sign that you're meant to be together, I guess. I mean, my God, that's a lot of time together.
Yeah, especially when the only place to go if you get mad is the back seat.
Right.
So we came up with some emotional shorthand
Mm-hmm.
in that if we realized we'd done something stupid and we were wrong, you had to apologize right away. You couldn't, you couldn't make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
We were together 24/7 generally.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a ball. I mean, I worked with Seinfeld, Dennis Miller, and Adam Sandler, and Kevin James, and Rosie, and Steve Harvey, and Foxworthy, back when they were just
Frank, you're fun. We know you're funnier than them. Come on.
yeah.
Come on.
We stayed in, they called it at the time, probably still do, comedy condos generally. The club would rent a condo, 3 bedrooms, and then have cleaning service come in between, So we not only worked with those people, we lived with them a week at a time. For my wife, it was something of a frat house, but they were crazy about her because she was game. We were sort of the June and Ward Cleaver of comedy. We ate well, we worked out every day. There were comics who tell me.
Oh, you weren't the ones raging booze and whatever.
No. Because back when I started, when it came to the end of the week at some clubs, they would say, do you want to be paid in white or green? I had a comic tell him one time, he told his manager, look, I need a couple of 3 weeks with Frank and Wendy. I need to dry out, get some exercise, eat some good food. So.
Where are you from? Are you from the South?
Yeah, born and raised in North Carolina.
What part?
Born in Raleigh, went to school in Chapel Hill.
I live in Chapel Hill, Frank.
Well, you know where the Navy building is on campus with a big gun out front?
Yeah, of course.
The Chi Phi house is across the street. I was in Ehringhaus dorm and then Old South, which is amazing. Old one of the oldest buildings on campus. And then I joined the fraternity that's across from the naval building there.
So you went to UNC Chapel Hill.
I did. 75 to 79.
That's a kind of weird coincidence. I didn't go there, but it doesn't. I just happen to live here, so okay, go figure. I'm familiar. Wow, Frank. So, 2010. Why'd you choose a gun?
Most men, 3 times as many women attempt than men, but men tend to complete because they use a handgun. And I had and have a gorgeous Ruger nickel-plated .38 with Federal Hydroshock hollow point. Yeah, there's no coming back.
It wouldn't be for lack of a better word, a failed attempt. You'd be gone.
No. You put that in your mouth, you pull the trigger, that Hydroshock hollow point, yeah, you're.
But one thing I want you to help me understand better is, so you the main reason you wanted to do it then was for this insurance.
Yep.
It's 22 months in, you still got 2 months to go. So in that 60 days, and if you said this, I apologize, but like, what happens? I mean, some people might say, I'm going to wait it out.
Yeah, I figured I had to wait 60 days. So and what happened was, I don't recall day 60, 61, 62. I wasn't marking them off the calendar. My guess is the bankruptcy went through, the phone calls stopped. And slowly but surely we rebuilt our lives over the next 10, 14 years.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Mhm.
The culminating point of your career, talking with me.
That's it. It's the height of my that's the funny thing, Sean, about show business, maybe about speaking. You never know whether you're on your way up, you've peaked, you're on your way down. 1989,
Mm,
it turns out, my comedy career peaked.
okay.
Showtime Comedy on the Road, Showtime, Star Search, 1,
Yeah.
2, lost third, went to a puppet.
That sucks.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose to a puppet. I mean,
No. And Evening at the Improv. I mean, all in so that was, it turns out as I look back, that was the peak of my,
crushing it. Yeah.
at least in terms of national, audiences. I mean, I obviously kept doing comedy clubs and so forth. And I wrote jokes for Leno for 20 years. I mean, my comedy career continued, but that was that was the
You
peak.
didn't know then, though. You don't know then until it's.
No, you have no idea. Up, down, who knows?
So you're not some. So what the majority of the people I talk to for this podcast are not sort of public figures. They're not speakers, right? So some of the questions I typically ask around, have you ever shared this with anybody else, or how many people know that you attempted, or these things in which really doesn't apply to you because you essentially live your life and your work around, at least in part, talking about this stuff rather openly. It sounds like.
Yes, and that's one of the things that keeps me alive. I was University of Montana Billings. I just done a show, and normally when I do a show, not normally, always when I do a show, I tell the audience, look, we're going to do some general Q&A, and then after that's done, if you got a question you want to ask or a story you want to share, I'll hang out extra 30, 45 minutes. And there's always a line, sometimes 2 people, sometimes 10.
Mm-hmm.
Most conversations start like this. I've never told anybody that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing outside the building after my show. There's a river. I can hear a river in the distance. It's starting to snow. It's dusk. And I thought to myself, oh, dear God, I am like George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. I've been shown what these people's lives might be like if I weren't there simply to share my story and hear theirs.
Mm-hmm.
If I kill myself, in theory, I'd take a lot of those people with me. So I can't kill myself because I would take a lot of those people with me.
So as we talk right now, you feel like you will die. We know this for sure at some point. It will not be suicide, or is that still a possibility for you?
No, my mom and dad were both gay. They met in high school, crazy about one another, both want to start a family. It was North Carolina in the 40s. Nobody came screaming out of the closet. Probably still don't in North Carolina. And they got married. They were going to adopt. No infants available. So they had to try and do it the old-fashioned way. My mother got pregnant, carried it to term. Shortly after birth, it passed away. A year later, she gets pregnant again. She carries it to term. Shortly after birth, it passes away.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find the courage to try a third time? And I was born a fourth time. My sister was born.
Mm-hmm.
But my feeling is she was so brave and worked so hard to bring me here that I have to be at least as brave and work at least as hard to stick around until my appointed time.
Makes sense to me. They were gay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I did a talk called the Speak Event. It's a TEDx competitor. And the title of the talk is Gay in My DNA. It's some science, if both parents are gay, some scientific evidence that the children, the offspring, have like a 51% chance of being gay.
Okay.
So I said to the audience, I think I'm about 1% gay. I like tasteful decorations. Judy Garland have an amazing ability to accessorize. The trick for me at 1% gay is never get 99% drunk.
Of course. I ask people this question about this might sound a little weird to you. I ask them this question. I call it the pink and purple pill question because I want to ask, and I'm pretty sure I know your answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
Because I want to, people. Some of the reasons people don't seriously consider ending their lives is because they don't want it to not work. They don't want to be in the pain. They're afraid of what people might judge. So the question I ask is essentially to take those things away. And the pill, take the pill, you go to sleep, you're in no pain. Nobody knows it's a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ask that majority of the people I've talked to said they would save the pill, but they wouldn't take the pill. Some actually would say, yeah, I think I would take it. And some say I'd give it back, throw it out. What do you do with that pill?
Well, I have chronic suicidal ideation, which is like that pill. With chronic suicidal ideation, suicide's always on the menu as a solution for problems large and small. And I tell my audience, it's small. Here's how small. My car broke down. I had 3 thoughts. Get it fixed, buy a new one, or I could just kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I would have killed myself a long time ago if I didn't have chronic suicidal ideation because I've already determined that I can do it. So I can stand a great deal of pain because I know I can make it come to an end anytime I choose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my pill.
Right.
I wouldn't need the pill. Now, people jump out of buildings. Sadly, a friend of mine was in Miami and jumped off the 10th floor of a hotel. And the part of the problem for me with that is you have a long ride down, a lot of time to think about the mistake you just made. Whereas you pull the trigger, boom, done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, I met a guy in Portland who put the shotgun to his chest, pulled the trigger, and survived.
Yeah, I've talked to people like that too.
Yeah. So, if I'm gonna do it, I would do it. I mean, I'd be gone.
Yeah, it's my best friend ended his life. He was a cop and gone.
More first responders die by suicide than in the line of duty. I was diagnosed by my two co-authors of the 4 books we wrote on men's mental health. One's a psychologist, one's a therapist, and we're chatting one day, and I'm describing my symptoms. And they go, Frank, well, maybe nobody's ever told you this, but we believe you have chronic suicidal ideation and major depressive disorder. And bingo.
Wait, hold up. When was this?
2018, 2019, maybe.
Okay, so you were already in your 60s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ever had that conversation with somebody?
No, never been diagnosed, never seen a therapist. I just rode the SAMe until I was 60. And my wife goes, look, you're 60.
Wow. Yeah.
Ask your doctor at your annual to give you some antidepressants. So I go in and I said to him, Dr. Jenna, I need some antidepressants. And he said, why? And I said, because I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like. He could not write the prescription fast enough.
And so you're on the meds today?
Yeah, it's Wellbutrin, the lowest dose available. And now with Wellbutrin, half the people who take it love it. The other half hate it with a purple passion.
I hated it.
Yeah.
But you like it. That's what matters.
Well, and my doctor gave it to me because he knew I was bodybuilding, and it actually makes you lose a little weight rather than gain weight.
So you're on the meds. They help.
Yes, very much. Just takes the edge off. Doesn't stop me from having that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I have a bad day and I'll take an extra. So I get 300 milligrams if I have a really bad day. But yeah, and I got lucky that first one I tried, because most people, seems to me, go on, doesn't work, taper off. Go on, doesn't work, taper off.
Yeah.
There's now a DNA cheek swab test, and this is what I would have done. They take your DNA and they try to match it to the psychotropic that works best with your metabolism. So they shrink the list down to about 2 or 3, because, the doctor only really knows what the drug salesman told him. And I would ask my pharmacist, because he knows far more about that stuff.
You speak for a living.
Yes.
A lot of people hear you. See how I'm quick.
Yeah.
But here's the question. If you're feeling suicidal.
Yeah.
You define that however you want. You're ideating passively. You're having the thoughts are getting stronger. How many people do you have in the world where you can talk to them and actually share all of it without fear of fill in the blank?
Pretty much everyone I know who knows me well. I believe you should tell, if you're living with something like this, you should tell anyone you know, love, and trust. Because in our books, we make the 4 books look like automobile owner's manuals. The metaphor here is, in NASCAR, the guy who's driving the car doesn't wait till he rolls in the pit to hire a crew. They're there waiting on him. They're ready to change the tires and, but whatever. So you need to have that crew, that pit crew, ready to go, when you crash and burn. They need to know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, so they could be there for you. Yes, and, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 988, they would prefer you call not when you're standing on the ledge.
Sure.
But when you're, cycling down, perhaps give them a little, lead time.
Yeah. Otherwise, it tends to get, from what I've learned over the years, sometimes, unfortunately, things happen that, you ask the imminent risk questions, their hands are tied and boom. And
yeah,
the systemic thing that I think we could be doing a lot better with how we treat people when they're in that space. But that's just some strong opinions I have about it.
Well, and I've got a friend, good friend, Glenn. If I called him or my wife called him and said, Frank's circling the drain, he'd be on a plane from Philadelphia to Oregon as soon as he could get here. So you need people like that in your life where they'll drop everything.
Mm-hmm. I don't think everyone has that, but if you got it, it's a hell of a blessing.
Yeah.
In your work, in your personal life, I would imagine, I always ask a question about myths or misconceptions around suicide, suicidality. Yeah. What are some big ones for you personally and perhaps extending outwards to others that hear this?
First one we talked about, why would someone, because people ask me, when somebody famous passes away by suicide, I get Facebook messages voicemails, DMs. Apparently, they've all gotten together, all my friends, and decided that Frank will know.
Yeah, you're the guy.
I'm the guy. And they all, and then if the person's famous, like Robin Williams or
Yeah, sure.
one of the judges or whatever, they want to know, why would somebody who had everything to live for want to kill themselves? Well, stock answer for me is probably they did. Most likely, they just wanted to end the pain. That's number one. Number two, saying the word suicide out loud in front of somebody who's depressed will make it more likely they'll die by suicide. The reverse is true.
Right.
That's another myth.
Hence this podcast. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, people who talk about it never do it. People who talk about it being melodramatic. People who talk about it are always looking at 10. So I believe those are not, maybe there are people who do.
Sure.
And I'm aware of people who use it as emotional blackmail.
Sure. There's always going to be people who don't, right. There's always going to be exceptions.
And you don't have to be a clinician. You don't have to be a clinician to stop a suicide. Anybody can stop a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message of my talk. 8 out of 10 people who are suicidal are ambivalent. 9 out of 10 give hints in the last week leading up to an attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell the audience, because my job is not to save people from suicide, but to empower the audience to do so. I say, look, you can make a difference. You can save a life. And you can do it by doing something as simple as we're doing right here. And that is having a conversation.
100%.
If you know how. And before you leave, you will know how.
So we should teach this stuff early on, no?
Oh, Lord, yes. That's the whole idea behind something called QPR, question, persuade, refer. They want it to be like CPR, that the same number of people who know CPR know QPR because they're very similar. The sooner you realize somebody's having a cardiac event, the sooner you get them help, the sooner they get to a hospital where they get professional help, the better the outcome. The sooner you know somebody's having a mental health breakdown, the sooner you get them to in some sort of transport to see a professional. The sooner they see a professional, the better the outcome. That's why they chose QPR like CPR.
My thing with all of this, and I really want your thoughts on this because you speak so often about it, and on your website also, it clearly says suicide prevention, right?
Yep.
How do I want to frame this question? The persuade part, I don't get. I get it. No, don't go. I get the persuade part in QPR, but if you're going to persuade me, am I going to open up to you?
I'm not trying to persuade you not to kill yourself. I'm trying to persuade you to let me help you get help.
Right. When you say help, you mean professional help.
Yes. In other words, let's get, and what I say to people is, well, I've got a brother who's got this problem, this, that, and the other. What do you recommend? I recommend that he simply go into a mental health facility for evaluation, just evaluation.
Sure.
Is it depression? Is it a depressive form of bipolar? Is it schizoaffective? What is it? And also to get a physical, because sometimes physical ailments present as mental health issues.
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to persuade you to do. Ask questions, persuade you to get help, and then refer you to where we think, ideally, you let me take you to a mental health facility. I'll give you an example. I'm speaking on site at a construction site in Cincinnati. Construction has the highest rate of suicide of any. 1,000 people die by accident every year, and 6,000 die by suicide.
Astounding, yeah.
Yeah, you're 6 times more likely to jump off the building than fall off. So I do my talk, and there's a line. And half dozen guys, which is unusual, guys don't often share. And the last guy in line is a young black fellow, I'm guessing mid-20s, and he's crying so hard he can't speak. So I wait, and he gathers himself. I said, what's up? He said, I haven't slept in 2 nights. I work on the 5th floor. I think about jumping off every day. He said, because I've lost 3 people close to me in the last year, including to violence, including my daughter who died in my arms. I'd like somebody to pull that pin drop in your lap. So the guy who hired me was his HR manager. So I waved him over. I said, look, you need to get the EAP, Employee Assistance Program binder, find the closest mental health facility to where we're standing right this moment, and take this gentleman by the hand and get him there because he is circling the drain. A couple of months later, I had occasion to talk to the guy, the HR guy again. I'm terrified to ask. Finally, I got up my courage. Whatever happened to that nice black guy? Frank, he got evaluated, medicated, he's back on the job. None of his workmates knew any of that. Probably a lot of his family had no idea how close he was. But because I got on stage and I was vulnerable and I shared I bared myself, and I'm a guy, he felt comfortable enough in front of everybody to cry in front of all these other people that weren't there.
I think I attract a certain person, and this is just the case. If I know you had a podcast for a while, and people hear you, so there are some expectations. They know your style, your voice, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I unfortunately have had so many people tell me how awful their experiences were in mental health hospitals. Not
Yeah.
all, but a lot. And even you got to find the right therapist, and sometimes their hands are tied. You can talk about it, but to a degree, or you just know what'll happen. So this isn't really a question. It's more of an observation I've made over some time that, and my own personal experience in 2 psych units, it's like I suppose I just wish that it was more likely that would be a better experience, if that makes sense. It's not really a question. It's just like,
Yes, and I did a show at Wofford College. After I got done, a young
Mhm.
woman comes up and she says, "Can I give you a hug?" Okay, it's the middle of the Me Too movement. Everybody in the room's got a video camera.
Right, right, right.
I could see the headline tomorrow in the paper.
Yeah.
Speaker gropes co-ed. And so I gave her a hug, pushed my pelvis as far back as I could to be as brotherly as I could.
Mhm.
And then I said to her when we got done hugging, "Are you a hugger?" She goes, "No." I said, "What's with the hug?" She goes, "Frank, I've been in therapy for 2 years, and the woman who's my therapist is good.
Mm,
She's well educated,
mm,
diplomas all over the wall, but no context." She
mhm,
goes, "15 minutes into your little talk," and I'm thinking, and this is a quote, "He's inside my fucking head.
mm.
Your 45 minutes did more for me than 2 years with her."
That says something about you, but it also says something about her,
Yeah.
meaning the therapist.
Yeah. I mean, she's good, she's educated. I had a psychologist come up to me after an event one time and busted me. He goes, "What qualifies you to speak on suicide prevention?
Right.
You're not a psychiatrist or
I know.
psychologist." And I said, "Well, I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like." And in the silence that followed, John, I said, "Look, Chief, I could go to college. I could learn everything, absolutely everything you know. You'll never know everything I know. That's what qualifies me."
And you give a shit.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of it too,
Yeah. And I
right?
care. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that go through stuff, not a judgment. They're just living a different kind of life. But you,
Yeah. Well, but it's here's my philosophy on speaking. You take your pain,
yep.
turn it into passion,
Mhm.
passion into purpose, purpose into profit. I always wanted to make a living and a difference. I could just never figure out how
Yep.
until after the recession when meeting planners and speakers bureaus said to me, "Frank, look, things have changed. Can't pay you $5,000 anymore just to be funny. You've got to teach the audience something." Judy Carter wrote a book called The Message of You.
Oh, is she the comedy Bible person?
Yep.
I got it right in my shelf.
Yeah, it's called The Message of You, Turn Your Life into a Money-Making Speaking Career. So I got it, and I went into it thinking I got nothing. And she takes you by the hand. Halfway through, I thought, I do have something. Given my near suicide, 2 mental illnesses, more nuts in my family than in a squirrel turd, I could keynote on suicide prevention if I got some training. And my second thought was, okay, now you've been a comic for 2.5 decades. Who in the hell is going to take you seriously? So that's when my wife suggested do a TEDx. And I said famously, "What's a TEDx?" So I got an application that week in the mail from a TEDx up in Canada, in Vancouver, and I filled it out. I got the audition. I got the TEDx. And then 2 more TEDx events called and said, "Do you have any more mental health topics by chance?" Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how I got my first 3.
Mhm.
So, and people all of a sudden realized I could do something serious with humor, not jokes, but funny, personal. I had to find that message. I had to find a way to make a difference.
Yeah.
I still had other keynotes that I was doing,
Mhm.
but when I coach my students these days,
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in picking a lane.
Yep.
Speak on one thing. Be the thought leader, the expert, so that when they come looking for somebody, what you do, they come looking for you, not anybody.
Mhm.
And also pick your ideal clients. 6 to 10 groups that have the problem, willing to pay you, and you have this partial solution for that problem. So in 2018, on January 1st, I decided, okay, that's it. I'm a suicide prevention speaker. If somebody asks for my cardiac keynote or my,
Sure. Sure.
I'll do it, but
Sure.
I don't market anything but suicide prevention speaking.
And you have a business.
Yes, and I was told at the beginning, you cannot make money speaking on mental health, and
Are they wrong? Are they wrong?
yeah, I charge $7,500 for a 45-minute keynote.
Yeah. So they are not correct.
No,
Um.
they also said nonprofits will not pay you, and I got a call from NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, Southwest Washington.
Yep.
The woman has seen me speak 3 times, and she said, "Frank, look, I'm the executive director, the new executive director. I want this first event to be spectacular. I want you to be my keynote. What do you charge?" I said, "Are you sitting down?" She said, "Yes." I said, $7,500. She said, "I'll get a grant."
They have money or
Yeah.
access to it.
If
Sure.
they want you bad enough, they will pay.
So who else do you speak for? I know it's probably a long list, but what are the big groups?
Construction is my number one ideal client group. Agriculture, veterinarians, physicians, dentists, attorneys.
And you're listing groups that I think a lot of people would be very surprised to have a high suicide attempt rate. Veterinarians, I just had a conversation with someone last month. She said, I'm a vet, not a military vet. I said, wait, you're saying veterinarians have a higher suicide? Yeah. And I knew of it to some degree, but I don't think people think mining and construction and the things, yeah.
The veterinarians and the physicians, the dentists, the risk factors are similar in that nowadays they come out of professional school with an average of $300,000 to $500,000 in student loan debt before they open a practice.
Mm-hmm.
So suicide is just an outcome. What happens is financial stress leads to mental stress, leads to physical stress, leads to heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, depression, and eventually suicide. So it's the stress is the killer
of those particular industries or the people that are drawn to them or whatever.
Yeah. And people ask me, how does your keynote vary from industry to industry? Well, in construction, the risk factors are different. Heavily male, macho men, I guess, seasonal work, lower educated workforce, injuries treated with opioids, and they're rough and tough guys who are less likely to reach out for help. And nowadays, 8 out of 10 people who die by suicide in the U.S. on average are men. Toxic masculinity. They just don't reach out.
I'm a middle-aged guy, and let's just say it doesn't matter what I do. I'm at one of your keynotes. What's the one thing I leave with if you've done your job well and I'm receptive to it?
I give the audience permission to give voice to their feelings and experiences surrounding depression, thoughts of suicide without repercussion. Again, I'm empowering them either to save somebody or save themselves. I did an Army base, couple 3 keynotes, and the last one doing Q&A. One of the soldiers said to me, "Is the Army doing enough for mental health? I can't speak for this base because that's why I'm here." And I didn't know the general, the 1-star, was standing right behind me who ran the base, holding a microphone. I had no idea. So I said, I believe this, this fort, this base, because they give a shit. I turn, now the general beside me, I see the star on his chest right here, the 1-star. I turn back to the audience and go, "Anybody besides me poop your pants at this moment?" And the general, bless his heart, steps up and he goes, "Soldiers, Frank King is correct. We give a shit." So it comes from the top. And then months later, April, I got a DM on LinkedIn from the base psychologist that I met. That day, our soldier walked into his office and said, "I'm depressed and suicidal, and I'm here because Frank King said I had to tell somebody."
How does that feel?
That made me cry. That's what I want the outcome to be, is that they feel comfortable coming forward, especially as a man, and sharing. That's the payoff for me, is that, and I always give my phone number out. I said, "Look, if you're suicidal, dial 988. If you're having a bad day, call a crazy person. Here's my cell."
Okay.
So next morning I wake up and there's a text, 917, I think. It's a New York number.
Yeah, well, yeah, mainly.
I didn't recognize it. It simply said, "Can I get that phone number for help again?" Didn't want to ask it in Q&A. Didn't want to be seen talking to me afterwards. That's the reward. That's why I can't kill myself for people, because I take people like that with me.
What is one thing that helps you feel better?
I have a self-care plan.
So what is yours? I mean, I don't know if you share that publicly, but what is your
diet? I'm on the keto diet, and I'm a vegan. And then exercise 5-6 times a week. Good night's sleep, which people take for granted.
100%.
It's very restorative. Diet, exercise, good night's sleep, meditation twice a day after a meal, 30-minute guided meditation down, brings me back up, kind of a reset. Diet, exercise, meditation, medication. All 5 of those things are things I can control.
Right.
I got to let the rest of it go. I can't. Everything else is above my pay grade.
All right. We don't have Joe Rogan-like numbers here, but we do have a good number of listeners. So you don't know who's listening. Probably, by and large, they're suicide attempt survivors, people who are ideating, people who are struggling. The majority of our listening audience. So last words directed towards them in addition to anything you've shared that you might want them to explore or think about.
It's a difficult time for certain groups in this country at this moment. Trans youth, 40% of them seriously consider suicide. And it's gotten worse. There are people out there who love and care about you. You will never know. Stick with it.
Appreciate your time.
Oh yeah, thanks. Hopefully you found that conversational.
I appreciate it, and thanks for being open and sharing. I know you got to cut out
Can I leave on a high note or funny note? Can I close out?
100%. Yeah, man.
Okay, this is how a comedian would close out a podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friend. If you did not enjoy this podcast, we hope you have no friends.
It's so much better coming from you as the guest than me as the host.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that, man. Hope the rest of your day is pretty good.
Start off well with you, my friend.
All right, talk soon.
See ya.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support, and special thanks to Frank in Oregon. Thanks, Frank. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or near survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. I would love to talk with you. I'm going to keep this real short today. Thanks for listening for 5 years. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.